Welcome to Adeptus On-Air, the show where we examine how individuals and companies make decisions that drive their business and personal success. Each week, we connect with notable professionals who pull back the curtain on the industries that Adeptus has been on the cutting edge of for the last 30 years, including music, sports, and entertainment, as well as new emerging markets.
Good morning and welcome to Adeptus On-Air. I am your show host for today, Evan Eneman, and we are honored with the presence of Michele Blood. Michele, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Evan. It's wonderful to be here.
Well, before we jump in, I think it would be great to give our audience a little bit of a background. I know there's a lot to cover today and very exciting topics. Tell us a little bit about your background, a broad overview, and then we'll jump into some specific topics.
Great. I'm an Aussie, as you can tell. G'day, everyone.
Got the accent, yeah.
And I was a rock singer in Australia, songwriter, rock singer, did videos, were with Time Warner Records, had a life-changing experience from a near-fatal truck accident actually, driving 12 hours with the truck from gig to gig in Sydney, from Brisbane to Sydney. And I was in the hospital for months. And what happened was people were playing positive things for me because I couldn't move. I was in there for months and long operations. And I came up with something. I won't go into the whole story now, but I came up with something being a singer-songwriter. I was attempting to use affirmations to heal my body because I was hearing about it from people giving me tapes to listen to because I was in such a desperately agonizing situation. And I couldn't get the affirmation to go into my subconscious mind. It kept spitting it out because my mind didn't believe it when I was saying, I am healed, I know I am, I love myself, I am my friend. All the things that weren't true, I was affirming were true to see if these affirmations would work. But they didn't work because I couldn't believe them. So I kept spitting it out. The doubting mind spits out positive input if you don't believe it. And so I started singing them because you can't get a jingle or a song out of your head. So that's how I started a brand new thing that went global. Ended up working all over the world with Dr. Deepak Chopra, Wayne Dyer, 7 years straight with Bob Proctor, ran his business in Kuala Lumpur, got more and more hit records in different countries. My success couldn't stop. So I started delving deeply into metaphysics and mysticism and how these positive songs had changed my life so much and put me on this whole new world, new trajectory of teaching. And then I started writing books and studying mysticism and enlightenment and meditation. And I still do my music. I just put out a new album last year. But that is what I do. I teach people now all over the world about mysticism. We still do the music. When I do an event, we have the songs and everyone sings along. And the Magnet to Money song has been downloaded multi-millions of times all over the globe. So it's just amazing how these simple little affirmation pop songs have been able to change people's consciousness so quickly because you just have to listen. And this is why advertising agencies, Evan, spend billions a year on jingles because they know once you have that jingle in your head, you'll have their product in your mind forever. So this is probably why Australians eat so much Vegemite when the rest of the world thinks it's the most disgusting spread to put on toast because of the Vegemite song.
Absolutely. You know, I have a lot of experience in that world. I actually worked with a former business partner, amazing person, lived in Australia for much of his childhood. And a lot of it was not just jingle writing, but just the music behind advertising campaigns and the things that evoke that emotion, because that's what it taps into. And yeah, music is one of those powerful tools that most people don't really think about. But it does create that ability for us to change our minds. And it sounds like you've tapped into that from what sounds like a horrific experience, but also one that was revelatory for you in some ways.
Amazingly so. I mean, my body was healed just listening to my voice, just a cappella. So when I got out of the hospital, I had such great healing. I started writing and recording different songs for every area I could imagine that I wanted for my band, for our success. But the media found out about my healing in these songs, and before I knew it, I'm touring with Dr. Deepak Chopra and Wayne Dyer and these people I'd never heard of before. I'm sitting backstage. There's thousands of people at these events, and I'm doing my affirmation songs in between these speakers. And I'm sitting there, I go, what is going on? Everyone loves this. They've got the affirmation lyrics up on stage, and these men that I'd never met before, never heard of before, were saying, oh, you've got to tour with this. You've got to make more albums of positive affirmation songs. This is what we teach, positive thinking. So I didn't know no one had done it before. And a funny little story, Wayne Dyer was on the very first event I did. This is in Australia, and I'm sitting backstage with Deepak Chopra, and I said, oh, are you one of the speakers here today? And he just started laughing. He said, you really don't know who I am? I said, no, I'm just a pop singer.
That is very funny. It's interesting too, because even with that said, a lot of people will recognize someone's voice before they may recognize their face, depending on how they've come to be, especially with music and the way that we have music distribution today, primarily digitally. So it's interesting that a lot of this is coming back to this conversation around music. And obviously Deepak has a very influential voice, both literally and physically in the space. Help me understand the connection. So really, really difficult, challenging time in your life, but you're already a singer. You're a touring musician. You've had this career success, and you have this accident that takes you out of what your life was and changes, who you are going to be and who you're destined to be in many ways. And it seems like that came from music and the positive influence of music in your life. Talk to me about the steps that you took to understand how music was helping you heal, and then the conversation that you started to have to take that tool, the tool of music and the repetition of a positive affirmation, which a lot of people still struggle with what that even means, that positive affirmation and the using that for momentum in your life. Take me from the time in the hospital bed, understanding that music is actually helping you heal, to this is now your life's mission, is to help others understand and experience that.
Well, there are no accidents in life, but it seems like it was just all predestined, because I had no intention of recording affirmation songs for the public. No way. That would have been, to me at the time, very uncool, because they're just little jingles,
Right.
In the hospital, Think and Go Rich by Napoleon Hill, a very famous book. Somebody put it on an audio version of it for me to listen to, and I had no idea why I would listen to that. But there was one chapter in it, Evan, where Napoleon Hill had a little infant son who was born completely deaf. And all the other chapters are just talking about rich millionaire entrepreneurs in the 1920s in America, which didn't interest me at all. I was already doing what I love to do as the lead singer. We're making videos. We're touring the world with big bands from America. And, it's like we still weren't making money, because you have to be hugely successful to make money as a musician in Australia. I remember once Michael Hutchins from In Excess borrowed money from one of my road crew to get a burger after a gig that we did with them. Anyway, that's another story. So
it always looks better than it is, but if you've been in music, you know how hard that struggle is. And then it is, you have to love and be passionate about music.
Oh, yeah, yeah. You've got no choice when you're a musician. You just do it for the love of it. But anyway, so as I said earlier, I said, okay, something within me believed that Napoleon Hill had done affirmations, auto-suggestion. He would go into his little son's room every night for years. You hear perfectly, my son. You grow up to be such an amazing entrepreneur, young man, blah, blah, blah. By the time he was 3.5, he had 30% hearing, which was impossible, and went on to become a leader in the hearing aid industry and extremely successful, the little boy. And something, when you just hear something, Evan, and you just know in the marrow of your bones that you've just heard something that is true. It's not woo-woo. That's true. Because I thought about it and I thought, I've always been able to will myself to get the right musicians, the right songs. I've willed myself to become successful. So that's just like willing yourself to be healed. And I'm told I'll never be healed completely, but I don't believe that now. I'm going to do the affirmation. That's why I did. I am healed. I know I am. I love myself. I am my friend. Wasn't working. Affirmations, Napoleon Hill said it. This is years before neuroscientists have proven that this is actually a fact. If you say a positive statement and you don't believe it, it won't go into the treasury of your subconscious mind to create healing in your body. And people use affirmations these days for money, for success in business, for everything. So I just said, I'll just sing it. I actually had my brother go out to look for some affirmation pop music, and there wasn't any. There wasn't any. It hadn't been created yet. So I just got them to put on because I still couldn't move, and I was on a steel bed in traction. Anyway, so I just got them to put a blank tape in, because that's how I always used to write my songs, Evan. I'd get an idea and I'd sing it onto the tape so I wouldn't forget it. So I would sing, I am healed, I know I am. I love myself, I am my friend. And I sang it over and over and over again. And I listened to it, and within a week, I felt better. I wasn't suicidal. I wasn't depressed. I could see that there was a future for me. Even if I wasn't able to walk properly again, I saw I could still sing. I could still write songs. It was amazing, the transformation. So when I got out of the hospital, I went into a little recording studio, and just a couple of musicians and myself from my band. And because I'd written in the hospital lots of other songs. I wrote I'm a magnet to money, success, all these different affirmations, because I knew it worked then. And I wanted it for me and my band, for us just to listen to. But before I knew it, journalists were coming and interviewing me about my healing and about these affirmation songs, which I thought was insane. I said, I don't know why you're interested. And they said, well, we love you, and we heard about your healing. And because of all that, the journalists on TV and magazines, then promoters that promoted these big transformational best-selling authors approached me and said, we want you, because you'll bring in a younger audience at the time. And we think it's very entertaining. We want you to sing these affirmations in between these authors and tour all around. And I was like, I'm not interested in doing that. No. And they said, we'll pay you $5,000 a gig. I was lucky to make that in a year, because what we made as a touring band was good money, but it went into agents, management, record companies, road crew. We had to hire all the equipment for the sound equipment, trucks. We were lucky to make $150 each to live on, but we didn't have to live in any place, because we were on tour nonstop around Australia. So we didn't have to pay rent or anything. But it was just, I was like, bloody oath, what? I said I would do it for the money, because all I was thinking of, I said to my band, look, I'll just do this. I'll just tour around, because then I can make money. We need a new drum kit. We need new this, So I said, we can maybe even buy a truck, have our own truck. And so the guys were enthusiastic about me doing it. But then the promoter said, we want you to sell the music that you're going to be singing at the back of the room. And I said, I haven't made them into CDs or anything. They said, we'll do it, and we'll just take a percentage of the sales. So I did like 500 CDs, thinking that was over the top, Evan, and at the back of the room. So after the first break, they were all sold, because there were 3,000 people in Adelaide, Australia at this event, and they were all sold. And because when Deepak and everyone got up at the next events, and we had to overnight thousands more CDs I was blown away. I didn't see what I mean. I didn't plan this.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about.
That's how it happened.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, I mean, stumbling into something, and I use that in a very positive way, is kind of how a lot of the best things happen in our lives. And I know you talk a little bit about this understanding and the study of positive affirmations, but this, an awakening, an enlightenment of someone in many ways. And that could be both for personal benefit. I understand my purpose now in life, and also in a professional setting. So, here you were an artist and a musician and struggling and had this experience and do some study around that. And even in the business sense of what you're doing, more than just the healing sense, you were able to have an awakening around how to improve your life professionally and financially. And that's something that a lot of business executives struggle with. Most of the times you get into a rut. You wake up every day, you go to work, you're doing what you're supposed to do, and you're just not really getting anywhere. And you don't really understand why or how to change that. And we also don't know if we have the control or power to do it ourselves. So we're always seeking these outside advisors and consultants. And sometimes we need trusted professionals in our lives. But it seems like you've been able to tap into something yourself that gave you the guidance you needed to change your personal life and your career for the better. So can you talk a little bit about that enlightenment, that awakening, and how it was a personal experience that you then also used, whether intentional or not, in this business that you've developed since then?
Yeah, it's really interesting, Evan, when something happens in your life, and if people understand the experiences that we have, everything, good, bad, ugly, fantastic, whatever the experience is, can all be utilized to move forward in your life and to not get into that rut. I look at it this way. Everybody really is a shining diamond. Everyone has been given great gifts and a mind that can think, a heart that can love, but it gets clogged by experiences or habits. You get stuck in a rut of a habit and you start coating this diamond and you don't feel restless anymore. You don't feel excited about doing something different. And so you get into a rut. And that is why people go backwards. They think they're trying to go forward, but they're doing it with like constipation willpower.
Sure.
Instead of a flow. And once you start oscillating your frequency at a faster vibration, which has been proven now, well, then you feel more energy and you can see opportunities that you could never see before because you're awakening to something new within yourself. You're becoming more living in the creative plane of life instead of the old habits. It's like you've got to create a holy habit, a new habit. Put yourself through a 20-day challenge, a 30-day challenge to do things differently, to meditate every day if you've never done it, to listen to affirmation music, to do something that's going to shift your attention, your consciousness to something new. You've got to scrub your consciousness clean if you're in a rut because you will never go ahead. You might have found something that you've done that like when someone creates a book, say, for example, or they create a membership on a website, or they create a website and they've managed to make enough money from it to be able to live okay, they get lazy. Instead of creating something new and different and making even more money, they stay on the Groundhog Day roller coaster,
Right.
and they just do the same old thing over and over again because at least they feel safe that they have created something that is paying their rent or paying their mortgage or whatever it is. But you've got to go beyond that always. And it's not just for business, it's for you as a person, so that you stay excited and happy and feel like you're on purpose and that you're doing good in the world, that you can be loving. That, it's not that you're over the top positive or over the top excited, but you're at least feeling life force in your life. And yet that life force will always carry over to your business, to your work. It's like people expecting, the same old results when they don't exercise. You've got to exercise your mind as well as your body. You've got to keep your energy up. People create drama in their businesses and in their life because they want to feel something. So unconsciously they start, doing things that are bad for them because they're self-sabotaging themselves without realizing, because they want to feel drama. They want to feel I can blame that person, or I can blame the economy or the stupid president or the prime minister or what's going on in the world, instead of looking within. We've got to be able to be brave enough to look at our shadow sides and heal those shadow sides so that you don't have a horrible life.
I think that's a really important message. The challenge to change behaviors is one of the hardest things to get people to do. You know, it's very easy to say, oh, you just have to do this and it takes 20 days and listen to this affirmation and say it 20 days in a row, and then you're going to be on your path. And it's something that we hear every single day of our lives. It's, you know, changing these behaviors, positive behaviors. Think about nutrition, and, you know, slight changes in nutrition can have a radical improvement in your health and wellness overall. Yet we don't change them because we have these behaviors that are really hard to change.
See, the thing is, yes, it is challenging to change old habits. However, there is something that my team and myself have created that you don't have to do anything except it's just like watching a movie, and it's called Manifestation Video Book. Manifestation Through the Power of Mysticism video book. So we know now that it's been proven that we think in pictures. If we look at something enough, that's why people do visual boards and do these things to have a visual of what they want their new car to look like. And they have been able to manifest it. I worked with Bob Proctor, who did The Secret for 7 years in the 90s, a long time before The Secret. And we were always talking about, you know, all the different products that we would do. We would always do visual boards. We're going to do a big event or a new book or something together. We'd do visual boards. So it's been proven that visual boards really work. But when you watch a movie and you have visuals, so what we did was I wrote a book called Manifesting Through the Power of Mysticism. I wrote the book, and then we created videos with, at the end of each video, you see the transcription of what I'm saying. So you hear the audio. You're looking at these positive images that go with what I'm saying. And at the end, you've got a music video of an affirmation song that is to do with that particular topic that we go through. And it is mind-blowing because people are absorbing 300 times faster than just listening to an audiobook or just watching a video just with images. You're reading along at the same time. You don't have a chance to let the doubting mind reject it, which is what happens, and which is why people they're not able to give themselves a command and say, let's do this for 30 days. They end up giving up because they are still oscillating at the same frequency. They've got to go up to a higher energy level to be able to push through that wall to do it. So what you've got to do is have all of this positive information being fed into your subconscious mind and for it to stay there, because then that is what brightens up your consciousness. And it's amazing. Manifestation video book, the world's first video book. And people are raving. Best-selling authors that I know that are friends of mine are just saying, this is going to be the new way that people, you know, when they want to have a positive change or they want to learn even a language or anything, is going to be through images, through video, through music. So we've got a combination of all of that in one product that we've just launched that is already going through the roof because people love it. They get the audio book, they get the video book and the ebook, all for the price of just $29.95. But at the end of this today, I'm going to give away a lot of things for free because some people just want to have an experiment with something. So sure. I'm going to give a lot of things away to your listeners for free so that they can at least have a taste of it and see if it works for them. Just a little taste.
Yeah, I think that's great because that's kind of the challenge for people is when they're stuck. How do you move to that next step? And it sounds like what you're explaining is from your experience, from the work and the research you've done and traveling around the world and speaking and singing to this for quite some time. One of those elements is essentially giving someone, opening the door for them and welcome them in by this manifestation video book, which ties the different elements together that you're saying positively influence and impact someone's life. So the imagery that we see, the music that we hear tied to it, and then the actual words themselves that are going to reinforce those images in that music, because those are the door openers or the heart openers, whatever you want to call them, or the mind openers, to then the words, the affirmations, the things that can get people past that rut. And if they watch this for some period of time, a day, 10 days, 20 days, whatever that is, they'll be able to break through that and then elevate their energy is what I'm hearing you saying. Is that the way to think about it? Is this something that it's a tool for people to break through if they just participate?
Yes, plus they're learning so much. I mean, the chapters, manifesting through the power of love, meditation and prosperity. Are you a mystic? The power of intuition, the power of meditation, how to become enlightened. What is consciousness? The pole of prosperity. 6 steps to achieving your big vision. Affirmation power, divine guidance or emotional ego. Psychic phenomena versus true intuition. 6 methods to uplift your vibration, and all the affirmation songs as well. So I wrote this book first before I even thought about doing it as a video.
Got it.
So I do it kiss, Evan. Mwah. Keep it simple and spiritual. So I'm covering all of these topics that some people may not have even been aware of. Why they feel like they've done some visualization, they've studied hard. Why isn't their business expanding? They feel like they're good people and they feel like they're just a hair's breadth away from their success. And then they get frustrated. Why aren't I successful? This explains to them why they've been going backward, why their diamond hasn't been cleaned, what they need to do physically, mentally, emotionally to fix that side of them, to find out what a dark night of the soul is as opposed to ego. How you can stop ego from running your life and let your heart, but keeping your head, keep your head in the clouds, but your feet on the ground.
Yeah. And sometimes that's easier said than done, but it does sound like what you've created is that bridge for people that can help them and guide them to expanding their horizons, whether that be in a workplace environment and most importantly, at home and in themselves, so that they can show up in the way that they want to be seen in the world and act in the world. So it sounds like a really positive tool for people. How does it also work when, if we just think about that context, you have a lot of people that work with you and help you do these things as an executive might in a business? So you have these teams. How would you say that the tools that you're creating, the manifestation video book, the apps, the affirmations and the music around that, how does that help an individual then work with others, then build a team around them to do those things? Because, even in the context of self, we can self-publish things, we can do that. It may only go so far, so we need others to help us do more. How does, this manifestation video book or some of the other elements you have created and shared globally, how does that help someone build a team around them to help them even more?
Well, it's all about, good question. It's all about consciousness. This is why you've got a successful podcast, because you're teaching people to have a better life and you're giving them tools and different authors and different people that have had experience, because you don't want to go to a piano teacher who can't play piano, do you? Nuh-uh.
Right.
So I'll give you an example. When I first started doing sometimes I do a talk for people, how to run a successful business. Run it like a successful rock band and you'll never fail. Because when you have a rock band, you've got to be able to get along, be a leader, not get because musicians get a little bit egotistical and they want to be, oh, my boyfriend's not, the bass player should be in the video more. That stuff actually does happen. Girlfriends getting in the way. Unbelievable stuff. Anyway, well, I'm the singer, so I'm sorry if I'm in the video a lot more than your bass player boyfriend. He doesn't care. Anyway, so you've got to be positive. You've got to have a work ethic that when you say you're going to do something, you do it. So that like with a band, you say to the band, you've got to show up at 4:00. And sometimes, okay, I would have to say 4:00 when it was for 5:00. I had to do some tricks to get the band herding cats. It's like herding cats sometimes. But then you have to all be in perfect harmony. If anyone is out of harmony, not just in the vocals, but if their guitar isn't tuned properly, everything is off and you'll be fired. You won't have one gig. You've got to do everything perfectly, have the sound perfect, get really good road crew. You have to be a business person to run a band, let alone be the lead singer and songwriter as well. So I learned a lot about business, how to get everything paid. Still, even though we didn't have a lot of money each, I had to do the accounts, everything, deal with agents, record companies. So I learned a lot about business as being a rock singer in a rock band. But when I came to America, no one knew me here. So, but when I was in Malaysia with Bob ended up letting me run the Bob Proctor business from Kuala Lumpur. I got his book, You Were Born Rich, to be a bestseller. I changed all the editing for his audios. I knew how to put on a rock concert. So of course I knew how to put on a seminar, no problem at all. I add musicians and backing music like I do now. My seminars are more like a bit of a rock concert. So they're very, very entertaining. So if you're being entertained, you can get more of into your consciousness. So with when I came to America, I had no one. I opened a little office. I didn't know how to type even. I got someone to make a website for me, and I just started writing books and just learning bit by bit. I would speak.
Now, rock stars don't have to write or learn how to type on a computer because it's not your.
We didn't have computers. There weren't any computers. It was that long ago. Okay. It was that long ago. I'm up there in the years now, but so there was nothing. I mean, one of my books was one of the first books to ever go on Amazon because they contacted me and they said, we're doing this new thing called Amazon.com, and we've got people, we're letting them know that there's no book, there's no music, there's anything that they want, we'll have it available. And people have been asking about your book and your music, and we don't have it, so we want it. So, I mean, I go way back. Yeah. So I didn't have anyone to help me. So what you've got to do is you've got to make sure that you are up to the task of learning all those things. Don't be egotistical and think, I just want to be a boss and get people to do stuff for me. You've got to learn how to do all those things as well. Like as a musician, I've got to learn how to tune the guitars and do, everything. You've got to learn every aspect of the business you're in before you can expect to get people to come in and help you. But I ended up learning many, many of those things. And I ended up just writing down what I wanted. Trevor Rogers has worked as a consultant for me for 18 years, but basically he works for me full time. But we just got it for tax reasons as a consultant. But he was working at Blockbuster, and I was writing a book and interviewing Hollywood success people. And the book was all about being a magnet to Hollywood success. I was working with this agent to write this book. And so I wanted to interview A-list actors and directors, and I did. I attracted to do with all of them. So I had to watch certain movies before I did my interviews with them, which I then just transcribed and put in the book. And so I noticed this young man was working so perfectly with everybody. And I was at that stage where I really wanted to find someone to hire, because the only people that were coming to me that wanted to work with me were women that were coming to my seminars who basically wanted to do what I did. They didn't want to be in an office. So I wrote down a list of all the attributes I wanted for someone: loyal, constant, wanted to do this as their career. And I went to this young man at Blockbuster who was helping me find a movie because I was just about to interview a director and I hadn't seen his movies. So he was so helpful and it was packed. And I said, look, you know what? Do you want to work somewhere else besides Blockbuster? I've got the feeling videos are going out, DVDs are going out. And he went, yeah, save me. Anyway, he ended up coming to work for me 18 years ago, and every attribute that I'd written down that I wanted in a person was him. Mm. It was amazing. And what I did was I put a book together. Everything that I'd learnt about, putting my products on Amazon, how to print my books, passwords, how to do credit cards, I put into this big folder. so that he would be able to start with, learn those things. And now he does and then Johnny and Dara, who I wanted to do this amazing TV show and make it into an internet thing as well, which no one had done. So he's a friend of mine and he loved it. He loved what I was doing. So he ended up going to night school, even though he was high in IT in a big company, to learn how to do all those things. So you just attract them because you have learned how to do all those things yourself, maybe not as brilliantly as these other people can do, or you've hired consultants to be able to do it. And you just end up being, I'm never a boss. I'm never allowed to be called a boss. I am one with everyone. And what I do as well, I give percentages of different products to give them incentive, because I want everyone to be successful and wealthy and happy. So when I have a win, we all have a win. And I think that's really important as well. And to make sure that you're working with people that you speak to as a mate. They're a friend of yours, like a band member.
Yeah, it is a great thing to reflect on. And as you're saying that, I'm wondering if you have that one piece of advice that you would tell to your younger self before the accident, that would have been advice that would have, had that accident never happened, gotten you on the same path.
Oh my goodness. There is more to life than rock and roll. Because when I think about it, you're in a box no matter who you are, and you end up doing what you do based on what other people have done before. So I would say to myself, get outside of the rock and roll box. What else can you do for the band to make extra money? Because we didn't have T-shirts that we sold. We could have sold CDs at the back of the room. I mean, just to have a broader vision of how you can not just become more famous, but make more money. What can you guys do together? You're all very talented musicians, to make multiple streams of income, because that is so important to be free. Because we used to sleep in what we used to call cockroach palaces, because the event people would just put us up in these hotels that were just horrible, bad, or horrible houses. We'd always have to bring paint with us to paint the walls because there were so many cockroaches and stuff. It's like unbelievable. So I would have said to myself, we are going to make money. What else can we be doing to make money? I would have definitely said that, because it's not nice as a young woman to have to put up with horrible accommodations and make your own clothes. And my boots, when they would start falling apart, I'd have to put black gaffer tape on them because I couldn't afford new boots.
Sure. So it's gained some perspective even in the moment you're in. Step out of the moment you're in, because if you're only sitting in that state, you're never going to shift. But if you can get out of that, get out of the box you may have helped put around you, gain some of that perspective, you'll enable some new opportunities to manifest in your life, because you'll give yourself the chance to see things a little bit differently.
Yeah, I mean, I was smart enough to, at the time, realize that the record labels, if you do get good accommodation or they do buy you a new dress or something, it comes out of your royalties. So
Yes.
I remember
always there's nothing for free in that world. That's for sure.
No, I remember once Time Warner people brought a big limo. We're about to do this music video, and my mother came along to pick out like a part of it for me to be in a wedding dress. The song was called Remember Me, I'll Be Waiting. Anyway, so there were extremely expensive boutiques they were taking me to. And I said to them, who's paying for this dress? Isn't it me from my royalties? And what are you guys doing here? And who's paying for the lunch? I'm not going to pay for your lunch from my royalties. And my mother said, I'll make her a dress. We don't need to do that. And they just looked at me, because they would, they always try to, the music executives, they stay in the best hotels and have the best dinners, and we're paying for it. Yeah. So at least I was smart enough in the beginning to look outside of myself. But once you realize it's not about talent, it's about persistence and getting yourself outside of the box. How can we do this differently than anyone else has ever done? No matter what it is that you're doing. Don't keep doing the same old thing that everybody else has done. Oh, but we don't need to recreate the wheel. This is what you do to become a rock star. Yeah, you do, because otherwise you just won't you won't be successful. And you might be famous, but to be famous and not have any money sucks.
Yeah, you got to have something unique that you're offering people. So you have the world's first manifestation video book, and you're out talking about that now and trying to get it to the hands of everyone, and not to jump too far ahead, but what is next? What is next in the horizon for you and for your fans worldwide and your audience and the people that you want to attract?
Well, there's many products. I'm always writing new books and new products. I'm doing the next video book is for children, for little babies, with all the affirmation songs and all the little baby animals from a CD that I wrote called Self-Esteem Songs for Kids, which parents love it because the little kids love it. They learn about little animals from all over the world. I do all these voiceover stuff. So that's the next actual product is for the kids.
That's great.
And we've got great apps. We've just launched the video book as an app. Manifestation video book app is on on Apple. And as far as all my students, we're continuously doing new things. I'm going to be doing a great event in LA next year, and we're going to have the musicians on the stage because since lockdown, people usually fly in from over 26 countries to come to my events that are my students that learn, and they're from all walks of life and all countries. A lot of them don't even speak English, but they do speak energy.
Sure.
And so I've been doing a lot of Zoom events in the last 3 years, tons of them. So I'm going to actually be inviting some of the people that I've done events with, podcasts with, like yourself, to help them as well make products and make more money. I love helping people find different things they can do to have multiple streams of income, because you've got such a positive podcast. You may have already done this, but if you haven't, you could have all your favorite interviews transcribed and make it into a book. Right. And have that as a best-selling book, because you've got tools and people and yourself and your team that have been guided to really uplift people in this world in all walks of life. And because it doesn't matter what a person does, I've worked in so many different cultures, and what I've discovered is everybody is the same. I've taught Motorola, I've done events for Malaysia Airlines, Nestle, sales teams, Cross Pens, and I'm still teaching the same stuff, because it's not about, because they're salespeople, you start talking about sales. You talk about consciousness, positive thinking, uplifting themselves so that when they are in a higher vibration, they will sell more because they're happier, and to appreciate who they are and what they do. And what I used to say to people was, to the companies, this is what's going to happen when I come in and do this event. You're going to have some people leave your business because they will not want to do this anymore. They'll come up with bigger ideas for themselves, and you'll have your other salespeople sell more than they've ever sold before, which is what always happened. Remax.
Yeah. Well, this has been a really fascinating conversation. I'm sure we could talk for a few hours more. Where can our listeners get to your tools, your books, your manifestation video book, and everything else? What's the best place for them to go?
Well, first of all, I want to give away something.
Sure.
If you go to Michele Blood, MicheleBlood.com/Adeptus, did I pronounce it correctly?
Yes, that is correct.
ADEPTUS, you will get the e-version of the manifestation video book, just so you can get a taste of it. You will get my latest album, Create Miracles, Songs to Harmonize Your Life, which are for every area of your life. You just listen to them. Just listen to them. Even if you don't like the songs, but you will, because they're great. You will find yourself feeling better just listening to them. You just have to let it go into your subconscious mind like a jingle. And also, 6 steps, 6 methods to build up your money and all that sort of. One of my favorite chapters from the video book, you get to have a taste of that as well. And so you just go to that link that I just said. And for the manifestation video book, you just go to magnet2success.com, magnet2success.com, and you can get it there. And also there you will find best-selling product with the late and great Bob Proctor, New Paradigms, audio book and printed book. You can get there as well. But that's where you can get the manifestation video book.
Great.
Magnet2success.com.
Well, I'm sure our audience would love getting all the samples and free goodies and things that can help them change their lives in a positive way. So Michele Blood, thank you once again for joining us on Adeptus On-Air. And until next time, we appreciate it.
Thank you, Evan. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Adeptus On-Air. If you like this episode, please subscribe and leave a review. If you have a question related to this episode or have a request for what you would like to hear, please email us at marketing@adeptuscpas.com. You can also find us at adeptuscpas.com online or follow us at Adeptus on social media. The views and opinions by the podcast speakers and guests are solely their own and do not reflect the opinions of Adeptus. This podcast provides general information only and is not intended to constitute advice.